I want to show you guys Kesha. Kesha, whatever. She actually kind of represents the young girls from Generation X, even though she might not be Generation X. But I'm just saying, this mentality around stalking, like you could just be out in the open and think it's funny, and somehow you're separated from like the real deal. Like there's this weird mental thing about this. And I wanted to point out, like, even in her own lyrical stuff is really interesting. So, and some conduct of hers. So, Keisha wrote this song about a guy she's been stalking since the age of 15. She told MTV News, I was really excited for people to hear this song, Steven. Then I wrote about this guy that I've been stalking since I was like 15. But he's a total loser, so I don't want to glorify him in any way. Okay, so this is what she said. And then she added that it all worked out for her. He wouldn't call me, and I could not wrap my brain around why he wouldn't call me. That was a victorious mission in the end. I don't know. I have the last laugh. And then she considers that the vulnerable side of her. It's me saying I'm totally obsessive and in love with this guy, but he's blowing me off in a pretty funny way. I was like, well, if you're a stalker, then the reason why you guys aren't hooking up is because you're creepy as hell, Keisha. This is that weird line, because that's why I said this topic is uncomfortable and weird. Like, because they've normalized. Okay, in order for everybody to watch that clip that I put up yesterday, for the public to be totally fine with it, then they're fine with stalking. That's just the truth of it. And I think people don't want to take that in. They're fine with rape. They're fine with raping kids. They're fine with stalking. They're fine with all these horrible things. But it tends to never get picked out until some crazy woman does it. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, and it's like, wait a minute. There's a reason why she's going on like that. She feels ultra comfortable going on like, I was stalking this guy. We used to say that kind of like, I was trying to figure out how to explain that, like as a joke. But then again, we're gonna go to her actions, and I'm gonna talk about two different people. One actually got arrested for doing what she did, and for some reason, when she did it, a crowd claps and thinks it's hilarious. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Okay, they did this story. And when I first heard it even, I was like, she's nuts. I would never do that. I could see going to his house. See, this is about the level of me, just so you guys know. I could see going to his house, and I'm like, I'm gonna sneak my CD up in, like, maybe his mailbox or like under the door. Like, if I even ever did that. And there was a lot of things that fans did. They would go to their houses and leave, we love you, blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's pretty typical, right? I would say if I was still, if, you're an adult now and doing that, it is probably creepy. I think that whole, thing of the culture with this crap is creepy as hell. I feel like we all got groomed into this type of weird shit. I think it's weird because I was going through it and I was like, the whole thing is just psychotic. Because I would have never. I just think it's weird that I'm writing like I'm a kid and I'm writing to some adult men who I've never met. And I'm like, oh, tell me all about them. I'm this little kid, right? And it's like sort of like promoted to do this thing, and so you have this and they answer back, right? On our thing, they answer back, like the mom and all them, they send all the shit. I mean, this was just the start of it. That was the only group of people there was this other group of people that I used to do that with. And then, and then they're all preaching love and all this stuff. So I was always just like overly like, I love everybody, and this bullshit and that bullshit. And then it just got to a point where I'm like, and then you actually meet the people, right? I was like, then it turned into this other thing. And I was like, yeah, they're not really, I mean, there was a thing about, I was trying to explain this to somebody else who I don't even fucking know, online, who then turned out to be kind of stalkerish. But I was explaining it even on here. I tell people all these different stories anyway. So it's not like, oh, this like really private, personal thing I don't want to tell anybody. I don't blast it from the rooftop. But I was like, yeah, I mean, there's certain people who like, you know, you have this idea of them as a kid. And I think some of that is enabled by the whole idea of fantasy world, you know, this other thing about it, which I don't think is really great for kids. I don't. I was like, that was actually a really bad transition from this fake idea about life to a child, and then you grow up and then it's like, oh, it's not really like that, kids, haha, jokes on you, you know, this fucking bullshit. There's something to that. But anyways, as we're hitting that up, so Kesha obviously had that fucking shit going on in her head too. Like it's not just a, you know, one weirdo person thing. It's actually just a in the culture itself of how people view this crap, and that these people are not real. Technically they're not real. These people that you're seeing in your face is just an image. It's a brand. It's not a real person technically. So I guess that's why you don't associate it with a real human anyways. But behind that whole bullshit right here, there's like a real person there. It's just an average, everyday human, which many times they, you know, they're such narcissists, they don't see themselves as an everyday human. But regardless if the person's an asshole or if they're an abuser or any of those things, the thing that matters most in these two stories I'm going to put side by side is that the victim in the story, which here would be Prince, doesn't know what the fuck is going on in your head. So even you might think you're being innocent, but you still just victimize the guy. And somehow this is glorified and clapped, and they think this is the greatest thing, that they victimize Prince. I'm like, maybe he deserves it. No, that they think it's the greatest thing to victimize Prince, because what matters, the only thing that matters in these stories, even when we're talking about rape and sexual assault and, oh, it's just a joke, bullshit, blah, blah, blah. No one gives a shit what the fuck is going on in your head. It has to do with the victim side only, because the action is being done to that person, right? And so I had to get a clear message of this very young. And, you know, it's like, oh yeah, you have to care about other people. Like, they're not in my head, you know, like they don't get the jokes or they're not enjoying it. Like Ellen, right? I was like, Ellen's like a good example, because I was like, she's getting off on doing this. I get the mentality. I do. And it's just like, oh, but you're not in their head. So, you know, you're going on only what's going on with you, and you're entertained by what you're doing. But the victim doesn't give a shit. You know, it's like, I don't like what you're doing to me. So this was some of the issues, you know, when kids are growing up, where they don't think about other people's feelings and all these things. And then you end up turning into a mega sociopath. That's what a sociopath is. They don't have empathy or care for others, and they do shit like this. I mean, this is such a sociopath thing to do. This story right here. I was like, I would never go that far. I mean, I would just because it goes into the line of breaking and entering, burglary, trespassing. I mean, this is criminal behavior right here, regardless of what the MO is. And it's dangerous because he could have massive security and they would have just shot her up. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of things that could have bad happen right here, right? So she tells this story back in 2016. It's like right at the slight intro of Me Too, and they were all being hypocrites, and I was sitting there actually defending her. And then she's out there hanging with my perpetrators. I go, oh, here's a person that's a hot fucking mess. A major mess. And so reading this wasn't really a shock. I'm way past this age. I'm way past doing any dumb shit. You know, I mean, I'm past that whole thing. Now I was just, you know, I'm just like the normal fat. I just come up. I was like, you know, this. Well, I don't need, you know, flipping offs and all the whatever bullshit and stalkers up in here and, you know, Corey Feldman jealousy because we talked about, there was weird shit, you guys. Did I kill anyone? This thing, that thing. I was like, I've had enough. I had enough. I was like, I had enough. I'm too old for this shit. No, I was like, anyways, he died at 57. Now, some of these people that I've been following are getting near that age, so you never know when you're gonna go. Don't be a shit fuck. I mean, that's you. But one celebrity had an especially interesting connection to Prince. Yeah, so they go on this thing. They go on Jimmy Fallon. That she tried to break into his home. Well, she did break into his home. She said she did. When she was a struggling musician searching for her big break. See, I didn't even have to go on like this because I was already taken in by a bunch of pedophile celebrities. I mean, so I didn't need to do like this. I saw a bunch of people going on like this. I'm like, well, I don't have to do any of that shit because I'm already dealing with these camp, this thing. I go, if I was doing anything weird, it's because I actually really like somebody. I was like, because I really like somebody else. Yeah. Anyway, which I was trying to put in the story anyway, because I go, oh no, I had the biggest crush on somebody else. It was just the truth of the story. But that went away. I was like, that went away, like, real quick. I mean, it was like, but I did. It was just the truth of the story. I go, so I don't know what bullshit they be going on because everybody knew about that. Everybody knew about that. I wouldn't even deny that, but I don't want to talk about it. I was like, I wouldn't deny it, but I don't want to talk about it. But that was like the earliest, things back in the day. I go, yeah, if anybody wanted to know, somebody like tried to like sucker me into doing some bullshit, and I was like, oh my god, you guys made me look weird. I was like, no. So it was not my idea. Like, nothing that was going on was like actually my ideas in anything. But anyway, those things are uncomfortable. But then we also had the stalker fucking pastor that be getting up in the story as well. Okay, so there was a lot of things that happened here. And it's just like, oh man, that era right there. Like, that era right there is like, but I'm not a dangerous person. But here's the thing. It's like, this here is fucking scary as hell, Kesha. It is. It's like, but I wouldn't have been even her age going on TV and bragging about it though either. It's like, that's one of those stories where you kind of go, I keep it to my friends. I'm not telling anybody on TV that I actually like fucking stalked Prince down and broke in his house. Like, that's nothing that should be bragged about. It really isn't. Do you want somebody to do that to you, Kesha? The thing, if it happened to her, she'd be like, oh my god, some guy come up in here and stalk me and shit. Okay, so yeah, this is the thing. It's like no perception of anybody else. Okay. In hopes of getting her music in the right hands, she made a bold move to sneak into Prince's house to drop off her demo. It also makes sense why the AC camp would totally love her, because she's batshit crazy. I'm dead serious. Like, with me, I think they just found out it's too normal for them. I don't know. Something bullshit here, but this shit right here is up their alley. It was so easy. I cruised up in my dead grandpa's car, and I get out, and there's a gardener in the front yard. So I was like, here's $5. Joe, make a thing about it. I'm just going to slide right under this gate. And he just laughed and thought it was funny and that I was charming. Why would his gardener allow you to do that shit? I don't know, but that's what she's claiming. We could sit there and find out the story's all bullshit, too. But this is what she's saying. She thinks it's hilarious. What happened next is pretty crazy. So I snuck under the fence, and then I just trolloped up the mountain to the door. The door was open. It was unlocked, which was basically an invitation. Yeah, she considers it an invitation just to walk in someone's house. So this is her brain. It's not healthy, okay? This is actually really creepy. So it's like you wouldn't go, okay, this is actually probably about the end of the line and just set the CD at the door, right? I could see that because you're not exactly doing the worst, but she goes right in. And then she's like, everything was purple velvet, so I was pleased. That was my fantasy. Yeah, it's delusional, right? My fantasy of Vedic fucking prince. Oh, delusional. There's the delusional part. and had come true. And that there was, in fact, purple velvet everywhere. Okay, so it says she ends up saying that she went up in an elevator, all this shit, and then he's sitting there playing guitar or something, and he's like, he gave me a look like, what, who the hell are you? And I waved the CD and I put it on the table and then I ran away. And you know damn well he was scared to hell. He's like, I don't know what this girl's gonna do. I don't know her. What a psychotic. He probably took her CD. I'm gonna tell you right now, he probably took her CD and fucking burned it. He probably took her CD and burned it, because I would not listen to anybody that fucking came in my house like that. I would go, what a fucking whack job, right? Would I want to work with a whack job? Fuck no. So she thinks it's hilarious. Then, I mean, this would be a story like if I did it, because I'm so overly honest, I'd be like, I did this thing one time and I actually feel really weird about it. And I should apologize to Prince for doing it because it's actually hella fucking creepy. I don't know what I was thinking. I wasn't thinking at all. And I thought this was a good idea. Instead, it's almost like a promotion, right? Like with her doing that, it's like a promotion, like, oh, this is normal. Oh, I would love to be able to do this to one of my favorite celebrities. Unfortunately, growing up, and even our Gen X, and I think it actually came maybe from the Beatles time, because all the men were stalkers, okay? The men were all stalkers. The boys were stalking us in school. They were outright stalkers, and it was normalized for men to stalk us. And then it would only become a bad thing if someone dies, right? It was like, oh, the stalkery, conduct is totally fine until someone brings a gun into it. And then, it's bad. And then we're going to drop the conversation completely. Well, during this whole thing of them promoting stalking, you're promoting it for women to do it too. And for some reason, most people thought, oh, women are harmless. Now, is Kesha harmless here? Technically, yeah, but nobody gives a shit what her fucking brain is doing, right? What matters, it's not the mentality of the person doing it, but what the effects are to the victim. You just violated Prince. And it gives him a sense of fear. It's like, I can't even leave my door unlocked, in this thing, and these people just walk in and terrorize me. She could have pulled a gun. She could have done anything. She could be a total psychotic that's, having an episode, right? And he's just, he froze. What she's saying is like the fear. He just froze. Like, I can't believe this is happening. So he's a victim to her, and she thinks it's hilarious. And then was like on TV, like going, call me. You call me. Like, just fucking weird, dude. I was like, this story is not one I would want to brag about. No. I was like, no, not this one. I was like, that's one of those ones where you can get arrested. And she said that she knew it and called her mom and said, I might get arrested. I'm like, well, there's something seriously wrong with you, girl, because that shit right there, that's just up and beyond. Like I said, we've done some crazy stuff, but nothing to the point of like where you would get massively arrested. I mean, so what's the story that matches this story? Eminem. I was like, because you know what I was looking for last night? I was trying to find celebrities that stalked other people, because a lot of them have. And of course, this isn't anywhere on Google because, celebrities don't stalk anyone. They absolutely do. I go, they just never get arrested for it. So I was trying to find that and to pull up all this shit. And so I was like, oh yeah, this dude. Okay, so basically this is Kesha 2.0. Okay, so now the mentality between the two are definitely different, because this guy, I believe he's schizophrenic or something. He's like your typical, I think I need to go kill somebody and I'm going to show up at your house, right? Okay. So, and that could be Kesha, right? Prince don't even know that, right? He don't know. It's just some fucking weirdo come up to his door and he rings the doorbell, and then he decides he's just going to break in. He looks like your typical schizophrenic guy, like something, right? And I guess he was wanting to kill the rapper. Okay, so then, he was standing in his living room before allegedly threatening to kill him, and the footage was released. And then, okay, so then he got home invasion, malicious destruction of property for using a brick to smash one of his windows. Or initially he thought it was his nephew, and then asked Hughes why he was there, and he was told by Mr. Hughes that he was there to kill him. I'd be like, oh, okay, that's good. So then he, and then this, but he didn't kill him. I think what it said was he was able to talk him into walking out to outside or something. I don't know. He was okay. So that definitely is a mentally ill person. Okay. It happens, but they're everywhere, right? Okay. What is different between Kesha and this story? Really nothing. Because the effects on the person when they're seeing somebody intruding into their home and invading and raping their space. This is called raping their space. I mean, it's big time raping their space. One did a forceful break-in. The other one went in. Now, we don't know what she would have done if the door was not unlocked. So it just may be because the door was unlocked, she didn't break in. But the action, it's the action. So this is the action of a stalker. The action of a stalker. Sorry, guys, but that's what it is. So these are different situations that are still the same. They're still both the same. The effects on the victim and the actions of the perpetrator. And yeah, this was such a story to go through because I was like, oh yeah, you remember all the girls that would just run around, they'd send all these letters to the guys, and you drive by, they do this. They totally promoted girls to like throw themselves at these men and everything. And then the men were like legitimately out in the open stalking. Like that was the okay part of everything, is like, I'm going to call your mom and try to get to your little kid. This thing. And I was showing, I go, the Michael thing, I go, was a great example because I go, I don't know how the DA or the investigators try to sit there and say that they didn't see the guy was a perpetrator because he's outright saying he's stalking a little girl. The last time he seen her was when she was 7. And he's being delusional and he's stalking. So this is the celebrity doing it. But for some reason, when they talk about this stuff, it's like, oh, they're on a whole different class. We don't arrest celebrities for stalking and doing drugs. I'm like, you guys are aware he's doing drugs. Well, fathers that do drugs are not supposed to be around kids. So how did this even happen? So you start seeing this different level of, there's just a 2-tier system, you guys. They literally do not get in trouble for doing the crimes that everybody else does. And then you see these guys, it was just annoying. I go, these men that promote violence on women and promoting to rape them and all these things. And all of a sudden they get a stalker and are complaining about how it took 8 years to get him busted. I'm like, wow, that might have to do with your promotion of violence. You're getting effed up because of your own bullshit. Get a clue, men. Anyways, we need to tell little girls like not to act like Kesha. Because for some reason, this was promoted, same with when they started molesting Justin Bieber. For some reason, they're like, this is the coolest thing to do, for me to go molest Justin Bieber. I go, oh, wait till the Me Too on all these girls, dude. Wait. I mean, I've already said my stuff. I go, I panned some kids in fucking school because we were doing frat house and behavior. I mean, that's the worst I did. Honest to God, it was like the worst I ever did. And it was so long ago. It was just like, yeah, we're ready for that. I'm like, no, I mean, it isn't, I'm not a bad person. These people are. And it's like, even when I do something bad, I have some self-awareness here. So if we're bringing up a topic like stalking, it should never be a thing where it's like only these people, because everybody partook and everybody's okay with stalking. And that's why I said it goes a hard topic. I go, God, we've talked about all the sexual assault stuff. I go, this is actually related in that conversation. where it affects everybody and everybody's fine with it. And I was like, there's a bunch of different things going on, because it's not just some mentally ill person. Would you consider her like totally mentally, like she's schizophrenic? I mean, maybe she is, you know what I mean? But I don't think this action was. I think this action is more of an average, everyday, over the top fan that would do some crazy ass shit. Like, I think she fits in that category, and maybe with some other issues, you know, along the way. But no, there was a lot of girls that I could tell you that would do this stuff, because when on the Ronnie camp, I was like, I would never show up to his house like that, dude. That shit's crazy. But there was these older women, they would go to his house, but he would let them in. I was like, I would never do anything like that. How creepy is that? And then also the celebrity could be a total rapist, because that's, you know, there's a lot of that going on. So I was like, yeah, you may think you know these people. I was trying to stress, like, you may think you know these people, but you really don't. And there's some really fucking crazy ones out here, okay? I was like, I don't know what some of these people's thing is, but it's actually really creepy. I kind of brushed one of them off, like some weird ass shit, but I was like, no, somebody's really off kilter. But yeah, and it sucks, because like you know, and people will want to play this other game with me about it, but and I try to explain it, and then this other stalker guy, who I don't know if they're related, because he's telling me all these other stories with those two together, and from a while back, and I was like, I don't know if I don't know. Like, they were admitting to their friends stalking, and then some other shit. And I was like, you know what? These guys got to go. They started getting jealous because I was talking about Corey Feldman. I go, well, I don't know what your problem is. You know, these are the topics that I talk about. If somebody's being problematic, he's another one that's totally psychotic. Is a celebrity being psychotic and abusing his power? Definitely. And I go, you cannot reverse that shit. Nobody did the shit that he made up. He's delusional. He's delusional. So, that was the thing about it. And then, yeah, so celebrities are delusional. Absolutely. So I was pointing it out. I go, but they want women to be delusional. So they sit there. See, here's what they want. I'll tell you what they want in the level of okayness that men promote. They want the women to throw themselves at them, but they don't want them to be violent and psychotic, but they're totally fine with passable stalking, like something like that. But nobody coming up there trying to shoot them. No, but they'll promote the other thing, and they will stalk those girls out, which they did in their early years before, you know, some of these guys are married now and everything, but they would stalk, and they would go hunt women down and do the shit, and they think they're somehow far away from that topic right there. No, but they don't consider themselves mentally ill. I go, well, what about you? You're delusional. Any guy that's in there going, oh, you know, I'm king of the universe, back in this thing over here, is like a fucking delusional psychotic. It's like, if you want to sit there and meet somebody, then you just outright ask them or talk to them. But none of this fucking weird ass shit that's been going on. You guys don't even know. It's just, no. These people, these celebrities are off kilter. That needs to be the topic. They continually demonize fans. The topic needs to be these delusional, psychotic fucking celebrities. That's the reality of it. And they get to be more delusional when they have more money. And then I wanted to bring up the Mormon cult thing in the topic of this, because there's some Mormons here, some ex-Mormons, I guess. If you recall, they did this thing where they used to do this thing where there's like, God brought us together, and it's God brought us together. That bullshit right there. That fucking shit right there. That cult ass shit from every Christian, from every fucking psychotic cult of Christianity you could think of that did this stuff, right? It was like the men would use it and groom you and say, God brought us together, and in the eyes of the Lord, this crap, okay? Part of stalking. It is absolutely part of stalking. And in fact, the pastor wrote a book stalking a girl down, saying that God brought them together and she didn't want to be with them, and she was one of the women that were going to the church. And he just writes his book out about hardcore stalking one of the what do you call them, the flock, the people that go into listen to him, start following her around and forced her to marry him. And it was an Asian girl, and nobody gave a shit, right? He's writing about him having an Asian madam and getting girls and doing this. And he's like, and then I stalked her down because God wanted me to be with her, was, this bullshit. And then she ends up dying. And I'm like, did he kill her? Like, we don't even know. I was like, we don't even know. Can somebody investigate this? Yeah. So he writes his book. It's on Amazon. And he's bragging about him being a stalker. And none of these religious people have a problem with it. They think he's the greatest thing ever. And he's the biggest criminal child predator, every fucking predator you could think of. And he's doing this shit. And men look at it going, yeah, that's what we do all the time, is stalk everybody. So it's so normalized. But the indoctrination for girls in it, to look at that and go, oh yeah, God sent him to me. I was like, you're literally okaying a stalker. It's like this manipulation in it. So I was like, yeah, that was involved in the stalking topic. And I was kind of like, oh my God, this topic is actually really hard to hit. Like, to break it down, like going in all these different directions. Because I go, oh, it's not just about a mentally ill person. It's about history, slavery, male supremacy. It's about idiotic, girls like her, Kesha, doing shit like that, thinking it's funny. Just some regular socio behavior, like, I don't give a shit about what you think, but I'm going to do what I want. And, this type of thing. It is about a lot of things. And I go, oh, how every day it is that we've all done this, like some type of action. Like, she did this action. I didn't do that action. I did some other action. But I was like looking at it and I'm like, oh, how do we go at the topic? Because it's quite broad. They want to sit there and focus on, it's just a mentally ill person. That is not true. That is not true. That is not true. But who did promote it from the get-go? Men. So it's important to know, okay, that came from the whole male supremacy thing where, they went and hunted down women and they're under their control and power and blah, 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 blah. And somehow it, evolved into this weird ass thing. And I go, we could just sit there and literally watch TV and watch someone stalking someone. And we're just like, oh, it's totally normal. I was like, that's effed up, dude. And I'm thinking about it. Like, you have to stew on the topic. Because I'm like, why didn't the public, or even myself, maybe at that time, look at that and go, yeah, that's pretty damn bad, dude. Yeah, I was like, that's pretty damn fucking bad, right? So I was sitting there like, no, that's not a topic that you go, oh, just this person and she's crazy. Or, oh, it's just this guy and he's out of his mind. It's like this broader thing, and it's a lot of different things. And I go, yeah, there's a lot of things where people are normalizing it because they don't see them as bad because they're not there to kill somebody, right? Like the other guy that got arrested over there. I go, but it's equally the same in the conduct on another person. And that's what matters. They keep trying to minimize these actions. And I do think it's because everybody's guilty of it. They don't want to go, oh, I did that shit too, because it's uncomfortable, right? I go, even when I was looking at the sexual assault thing, I go, oh yeah, well, we're all part of the story. I mean, it's not a thing that you go, I'm separated from it, because nobody is. Anybody trying to act like they are is a fucking liar. But I was trying to look at it as, like, some things are worse than others. Definitely, like, this is worse than going to a mailbox and putting a CD in it. Should you even do that? Probably not, but it's not as, it's probably more expected than this shit. Yeah, the topic is pretty big, but I just think it's psychotic that any man, because all these men promoted stalking, every single one of them, because you can go through the old movies, they are all promoting stalking. And it's some man going, hey lady, did you do this with this thing? Don't you think this is excessive? I'm like, well, stalking doesn't necessarily mean that somebody's going to go send a million messages, right? Like this right here, just this action here is part of that conversation. So I'm just like, okay, it is a hard, it's a big topic. It's whack. I'm like, it's whack and it's very broad. And so, the way they want to narrow it down to just this thing is bullshit. And if you promote gender-based violences, then you're going to get this back, okay? This is going to be part of the story, and you're going to get it back. So I don't have any empathy for men that promote fucking violence on women, and all of a sudden you get one at your house. Okay, well, you kind of asked for it, okay? That's the self-harm of men. Okay. Yeah, Nikki Sixx apparently had some psychotic girl. The girl looks like Corey Feldman's girl. I was looking at it and I go, that girl's familiar, dude. Did I get her too? I sometimes get the same stalkers as celebrities because I got a celebrity stalker because my friend was kind of known, and it wasn't through her, but he stalks to a lot of well-known people. And so one day he became a fan of mine, and he's like, hey, I have wanted to meet you for a long time. I'm like, cool. Hi, what's your, this thing? And then I didn't think anything of it because I have people like that all the time at that time. And out of nowhere, the dude's like, I want to come see you do this thing. And I'm like, what the fuck? And but even then, it wasn't like anything that was alarming or whatnot. And he kept sending shit. And I'm like, this guy's just weird. It's like that thing. This guy's just weird. We get the weirdos all the time. So it's just kind of like that thing. But then it started turning into, I'm going to set you on fire. And I'm like, yeah, the dude. And everybody's like, oh, then he showed up at my job. And my friend, the one that actually knew him, I didn't know she knew him, though. I didn't know anybody knew who the guy was. And she's like, oh, that guy, I would stay away from him because he got violent. Like this whole thing, she was telling me this whole thing. And I'm like, really? Fuck. So then the boss is like telling me you need to stay away from me. And then he doesn't listen to him. And I go, oh, we got a problem. So he kept this on for 2 years, man. He was stalking me for 2 years. So I go to a different job and he finds me over there. And then he sends this like email like, I'm Superman. He called himself Superman. And I'm like, I looked at the email tag and I go, oh, it's that guy's email. So then I go, you need to stop stalking me. He's like, you're not as dumb of a B word as I thought. How would you know it's me? It's just like, what the fuck? Yeah, the dude was like absolutely off kilter. But he did have Asperger's. Okay, so I might have autism too, but Jesus Christ, this is not that. Okay, this is like the autism part has nothing to do with it, really. I mean, it may come into play in the fact that he's just being a weirdo, but the comments to me, no, he's a straight up socio, and he has a huge list of victims, and it was LAPD. I mean, not LAPD. It was actually, yeah, probably both. Because I reported mine to the sheriffs. They didn't do shit. The other girls, I guess, had made police reports and then they still didn't do shit. I'm like, how do you have this long list of things? It's just LAPD and them going, oh, men are just doing what they do. Is he bothering you? That's what we do. It's not a big deal. That's our job, to go fuck with all the women out here and be a perpetrator. Yeah, so if any guy has a problem with anybody being psychotic and nobody doing anything, blame yourself. Yes, blame yourself, men. You promote it, you're gonna get it. You promote it, you're gonna fucking get it, right? Yeah, that's really the easy thing of, I mean, it's just common sense. If you promote rape, you're gonna get raped. You promote breaking into houses and someone breaks into your house, Kesha, that's you fucking thought it was hilarious. That's what I'm saying. I go, that shit's just crazy. The crazy thing is, like, an audience is listening to her say the story, and they're just like, ah, ha, 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 ha. And then Jimmy Fallon's like, ha, 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 that's great. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, is he drunk? Like, can I break into your house, Jimmy? Would you have a problem? I wouldn't want to. I would go in there and go, I used to be a big fan of yours, but you're kind of an asshole now. I was like, yeah, I was. I was actually the one. I had taped his early stuff and I put it up. I go, yeah, the guy, this thing. And then he became really famous, like really famous. He gets on the TV show, does his thing. And I go, now he's a dick. Now I'm not a fan anymore. He turns into this drunk asshole. I was like, this thing. I was like, why is it? I don't know. I'm looking for my dad. I don't know. No, I think all these men are just like that. I think all these men are just alcoholic assholes. I think there's just a trait in these really charismatic guys, and then they're like mega addicts and assholes, like total, this thing. No, I mean, if people didn't just mentally stalk these people, they wouldn't have a career, right? So, like, there's this level of, like, what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. And those lines need to be very clear, mostly when you're teaching children. Because that Brady Bunch thing, I'm like, that shit right there was so bad. It was basically promoting an adult man to go stalk someone's random kid because he heard her on the radio. And I'm like, you know how fucked that is? That thing is creepy as hell. But for some reason, back when they did the show, that was so normal. It's like, oh, isn't it the greatest thing that this freaking child predator is interested in my daughter? We need to give Marsha away to this guy. And we're just going to leave the room. He could totally rape her right here. And then he's like, kiss me again, Marsha. It's like, dude, she's a minor. Why are they promoting this on, some so-called wholesome TV? But that's how normal it was. And they look at it and they're like, it's no big deal. And it's no big deal that the mom on the show went on a date with the young boy. It's literally no problem that he's acting like an Ashton Kutcher here. But it's kind of a double dynamic because look at it like this. It's so weird. So the dynamics will happen in different ways. Like Kevin Spacey could be a victim to so-and-so, but he's a mega monster, right? But it's like in this, it's like, why is he having relationships with somebody on the show? That should be protected. This thing with the kids. But anyway, they did, right? With him on the other girl. And then he's like, I want to hook up with freaking the mom. However, while people are going to say, it's totally common. The thing is that the adult is the one that's supposed to go, no, we get it, but no. But also the topic of conversation is teaching these young boys not to be sexual predators to anyone, because I brought it up how these little boys were like, asking to see my underwear. They're sexually harassing me as an adult woman. And I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do with that? Because I don't want to kick the kid's ass, you can't do that. And their parents are fuck ups. So I think maybe today the answer to that was just call CPS and tell them that their kid is being sexually inappropriate and they need to go take a look inside that home. That's what I'm thinking, because me tackling it like as an adult to the little boy would do nothing. That kid was a straight up little socio already at like, I don't know how old he was. He was like 10 or something. And he's running around asking to see my underwear. And I'm like, I've never even heard a kid go on like this. This is terrible. And so imagine what he's doing at school. And his parents are such fuck ups. It's like this thing going on. And I go, I've had this so often with people's sons. And and they look at it and they're like, oh, how cute. My son thinks you're hot. It's like I'm getting sexually harassed by a kid. I'm like legitimately getting sexually harassed by a kid and I can't even protect myself. Because I can't tear them apart like I can an adult. And it's like, and it's a thing where it's like an at-home issue. And, and then they're just promoting it right there. And I'm like, and I've been reading a lot of stories of these young boys getting arrested now because they're a little rapist. And I'm like, yeah. I go, that little kid could have raped me, dude. He's like, let me see your underwear. It's like, what the fuck shit is that? So, yeah. So, and then they're already stalkers because he's following me around in my apartment. Like, I'm walking out to get my mail, and this little kid's following me around. And so it's like that thing. It's like there's a normalization with the stalking portion, too. It's like, do I want you near me, kid? No. Why are you asking to see my underwear, you fucking freak? Yeah, but he's 10. He's like, I don't know how old he is. He's really little. And so, yeah, that's why I said it's a bigger conversation, you guys. And no, it's not because he's like, you know, a schizophrenic or something like that. It's like, no, that's a normalization from the way their fucking dad's acting, probably.